I want to share some interesting insights into psychology of Korean people with you. Let's dive into two main aspects: relationalism and subjectivity. 1. Relationalism. First up, relationalism. This is a core trait in psychology of Korean people, where relationships take center stage. People often change their opinions based on what others think or prefer. The good side of relationalism, for example, imagine you're at a restaurant with Korean friends. Before even looking at the menu, they might ask, "What are you going to eat?" They're ready to adjust their choices based on what you want. This mutual influence is seen as normal and shows a great deal of consideration for others. The downside of relationalism, however, sometimes this consideration can lead to breaking rules. Picture this: there's a long line, but a Korean person might let an elderly person go ahead, saying, "Please go first." This breaks the principle of lending up. In Western cultures, or in other collectivist societies, people usually expect everyone to follow the rules strictly. 2. Subjectivity. Now, let's talk about subjectivity. This is all about asserting and expanding one's presence and influence. In Western collectivism, standing out isn't typically encouraged within a group. But in Korea, people value on relationships, and each person's presence is important. They want to influence others and be influenced in return. Korean subjectivity in action. Koreans often want their presence to be noticed. So it's common for someone to say, "I'll pay when dining out." If they keep paying without any special reason, it might be their way of asserting their presence. But if it happens too often, the person being treated might feel uncomfortable, as if their own presence is being overshadowed. Positive aspects of strong subjectivity. Koreans are creative and don't just follow rules blindly. For example, seeing Koreans cut food with scissors can be a bit of a culture shock for foreigners. Negative aspects of strong subjectivity. Koreans think freely and often do things their own way, sometimes ignoring rules. Imagine a construction site where the plan calls for 10 screws, but the workers decide that 7 will do and proceed with their own judgment. What makes Koreans really angry? Koreans get most frustrated when they want to influence someone, but that person remains unaffected. They get angrier at the attitude of not listening than at the actual disagreement. On a bigger scale, this tendency contributes to social conflicts, even as the country develops economically. Why do social conflicts happen in Korea? Koreans often feel that everyone should think the same way, and they constantly try to persuade others with different opinions. They might say, "Let's discuss this together," but they often mean, "Since I'm being rational, you should agree with me." Their way of persuading is by providing lots of information, believing that others will reach the same rational conclusion. But when the other person doesn't change their mind, they might think, "Is this person stupid?" This leads to a tendency to belittle those who think differently, believing that no reasonable person could hold such views. They might conclude, "I've explained so clearly, and they still don't get it. They must be a bad person." They struggle to accept differing opinions. The more they care about someone, the harder they try to persuade them. They judge their children by the standards of 30 years ago, not recognizing how much Korea has changed. Korean society could benefit from adopting the perspective of grandparents with their grandchildren. Grandparents might think, "Is that how kids do things these days? I don't get it." And then just let it go. Hope this gives you a friendly and insightful look into the fascinating psychology world of Korean people.